Here, let's see. We'll get him to go get his bone. Yasta, Suk. Where's it? Suk.
Look at how trained.
Suk.
Let me show you guys how trained.
Suk. Yes. Brick. Here. Here. Come on. It's slippery for. Here.
Look at that.
Good boy.
There we go.
Okay. Los. Sits. No. Fui.
What's up, guys? Today we have a very, very interesting story. This is our new buddy, Mark. He has a very, very wild story of how he got his dog here. How's it going, Mark?
Will, it's great. Thank you so much for having me. I'm new to the YouTube world, but I've been in the dog business for 40 years. I've been a professional dog trainer since the 80s, training mostly large dogs, doing protection work, police canine training. When I decided to retire to Vietnam, one of the things that I knew was going to be a little tougher for me was bringing a 95-pound fully trained police canine over here who has a lot of energy and a lot of attitude. He's a Belgian Malinois. But I was really fortunate after coming over here to do an exploratory visit. I ran into some folks, a couple from Dallas, Texas, and they had just relocated here to teach English at one of the schools, and they had brought their little corgi from Dallas to here. So I asked them all kinds of questions. I actually got the name of the professional pet relocation company. Took that back home with me, and then I had a couple of months to arrange all my things, get ready to move here permanently, which was about 2 months after the country opened in the beginning of the summer in 2022. So I tried to do it by myself. With a dog this big, it wasn't going to happen. I started getting prices from pet relocation companies, and just like shipping a package UPS, the size and the weight determines the price. So if you've got a toy poodle, just do some math. If your toy poodle weighs 3 pounds, this dog weighed 95 pounds, and I'm asking about shipping and, well, pet relocation. Some of the numbers I was getting was ridiculous. I even went to Japan Air. One of the Japanese airlines was going to be the airline I was using to come over when I moved here permanently. And I even told them I would buy 3 seats. I would buy a whole row so he could lie on the floor. And they saw a picture of my dog and they said, that dog is not getting in our airplane. And our airplane, I'm old, the jet, the plane. Yeah. So I went back to the pet relocation avenue. And I ended up using the company that these people had referred to me that had used it. It was a company in the States based in Dallas. Vietnam wanted a lot of paperwork. They did not have, at the time we flew, there was no quarantine for the animal, which was all I cared about. You know, the stack of paperwork that the company ended up with was quite thick. So I started working with them, and they gave me an initial price. And it is quite a long process. You start this process a couple months before, and I don't remember exactly why, but I know a couple of months, because then you have to find out, you know, what vaccines. And if it, you know, then the vet might tell you, well, you have to have, if it needs both of these vaccines, you know, they have to be a month apart. So you don't start this process, folks, 2 weeks before you want to go.
So they do have to show their vaccines?
Oh, yeah, the paperwork. And with Vietnam, so I had to get 6 or 7 shots for him, updated, make sure they were current. I went to the vet and did that. And this was amazing. So, you know, professional veterinary clinic, all the right paperwork, they've signed off on it. Then I had to take that paperwork and send it to the USDA. They needed the US government stamp on top of the official veterinary clinic stuff, which actually wasn't that difficult. They have offices in every state and everything. But so there was a lot of paperwork, you know, it's a necessary evil. Then when it gets time, they you know, they tell you, here's the airline, and I say, okay, I tried to make it so that I flew over here and my dog came 2 days later so I could get into my house and get everything organized. But what ends up happening is the weather plays a vital role in if and when these pet relocation, the airlines will fly, because they don't want the liability. Yeah. So twice the Lufthansa company said, no, you're scheduled for whatever it was, June 29th. you know, 3 days before they tell you no because it's going to be too hot and they don't want the liability. So in my case, I got here and they canceled that flight. Fortunately for me, being in the dog industry made it a lot easier for some of these issues that popped up, because he was staying at a kennel owned by a good friend of mine, in the dog business that we'd done training. So he was somewhere I knew he was safe. They knew the dog. And now the next flight, 2 weeks from now. So now I've got it.
Delayed.
But it was still, I still had to pay my friend. He wasn't doing me a favor. I had to pay for 2 more weeks of boarding and feeding. Okay, we got the next Lufthansa flight, and it happened again. Got canceled again. Then, God bless my pet relocation company, they said, okay, we're going to find another flight, and they found one maybe 4 days later, but it was on Air France. And they said, no problem, they're good, but instead of flying out of Dulles Airport, which was 70 miles from where my dog was, he's going to fly out of Kennedy in New York. Again, thankfully, good.
And you're here in Vietnam at this time.
So thankfully, good friends. I called a good friend who knew the dog, and I paid him to get up at 3 or 4 in the morning and take my dog and drive to Kennedy Airport, which was about from where they were about a 5-hour drive. Meet with the guy at the cargo, the guy from the pet transfer, and handle it all. And
Were you how much were you stressing at this time?
Just a lot, just because of my relationship with this dog. He's been my partner for now 11 and a half years.
Yeah.
And I don't think we'd never been separated for even more than a day because of his level of training. He went everywhere with me. He went on vacation, went into hotels, went into restaurants, what have you. So again, some of the things by being in the dog world professionally did make it easier, but that relationship did. It was stressful, and you'll see how stressful it was.
Were you breaking out the tissue with tears?
Oh, no. More the anxiety and more the stress, and believe me, the people at the pet relocation company in Dallas, they got the pointed end of that stick on more than one occasion, where I was not happy.
They heard an earful.
Yeah. So long story of getting out of Dodge. Story short, he finally got on the airplane, flies to, the plane goes to Paris, France, 18 hours, then he goes to Ho Chi Minh. So while he's flying to Ho Chi Minh, and this was really, I was very impressed with this. So the company I'm working with is in Dallas, but they're so big and have been doing this so long, so they had a sister pet transportation company in Ho Chi Minh, and the owner of that, I wish I could remember her name and the company, I would give her such a shout out. She was Malaysian, but she spoke perfect English, and every time I texted her or called her on WhatsApp, she answered and talked to me. She's in Malaysia, I'm in America, and then once I was over here trying to it was amazing, because it turns out, something to mark down, if you're in Vietnam, and this is 3 years ago, in case things, maybe they've changed, but 3 years ago, no domestic airline in Vietnam would transport a dog, or I'm assuming any other animal, where the dog and the crate or whatever it was in was more than 50 kilos, 100 pounds. And my dog and his crate were about 130 pounds combined. So I said to the company in Dallas, well, what are you going to do? It's no problem. The Malaysian company, they have vans, the really nice Sprinter van with the reclining seats, and they said, the dog's gonna go in a van, and 2 drivers are gonna drive your dog from Ho Chi Minh to Da Nang.
Wow.
Now, I didn't have any idea what was involved with that, but don't go away now.
That's at least a 16-hour train flight.
Well, I'm about to tell you exactly what it is, because I was in the. So I said, okay, so just my dog and the drivers. They said, oh, no, there'll be one other dog. I said, oh, so my dog will be in his crate inside the van, and no, they'll just be loose in the back. I said, no, they won't.
Be hanging out.
I said, not unless you want to buy or replace somebody's dead dog, because I said, look, my dog will never start anything. He doesn't care about other dogs, but if that other dog looks at him the wrong way, he's a dominant dog. If the other dog looks at him the wrong way, it's going to be on like Donkey Kong. So I convinced them,
Don't do that.
Only Yasta and the 2 drivers. And then I said, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to fly to Ho Chi Minh the same morning. I'll never forget this. This is 3 years ago. I can remember it like it was yesterday because of that anxiety of being separated and all the problems. He got into Ho Chi Minh at 7:30 on a Friday morning. Well, there's a 6 o'clock flight from Da Nang that gets you through customs, or not customs, it's domestic, but in there about the same time. I said, great, I'm going to come down. I'll be there at 7:30 on Friday morning. I am riding back to Da Nang in the van. They said, oh no, well, we don't allow that. And here's where the some of the attitudes, some of the edginess comes. I said, I'm sorry, maybe you didn't hear me. I said, I'm going to be in that van with that dog. And they got the point. I flew down and we drove back. And it was great. I mean, 2 drivers because there was no stopping. There was no sleeping. It was 22 hours. And
one would take a break and the other guy
absolutely he would sleep. They had a great reclining seat. So I'm in a better seat than any airplane has. But here was my first extensive look into infrastructure in Vietnam. The roads from Ho Chi Minh City to Da Nang, they're not exactly super highways. I believe the average speed would be around 32 kilometers per hour. And at 3 in the morning, when you haven't slept for a day and a half and you recline, but the roads are so bumpy that, and I wish I was exaggerating, but not a wink of sleep. But they drove through the night and we got to Da Nang, and he showed up. He was skinny, he was, but happy to see me and all that. So back to the middle where he arrived, and this is how I know I would never even attempt this on my own. I don't know if things have changed or not. When I got to the cargo holding cargo center of the airport, I met the representative, the man from the Malaysian pet transportation company. Nice fella, and he had a folder about an inch thick.
Wow. And
I had to give him some of the paperwork that I had, but they had all the paperwork that I had to give to so we spent 3 hours. I just following him around from this office to this ticket sales window where he's giving paperwork, getting paperwork. We ran around. I sat sometimes and watched him go to more windows, signed his name, more paperwork, this, that, and the other thing. About 3 hours worth.
Wow.
Finally, we sit down. And he's like, okay, over there, that's customs. That's where we're gonna, I guess, gotta take this stuff to that window, which was totally blacked out. I'm not gonna get into why.
Interesting.
But he went over there, he slid the paperwork in, he said, that's where they are gonna put a stamp on that lets you get their dog. I'm like, praise the Lord. Let's go.
Hopefully the last step.
So he went over, he stamped it, and we got the dog and we made the trip. But just watching him, a professional, just office. Sometimes I'd sit there, he'd go upstairs and he's gone for 20 minutes. Then he's back down. He's like, and then he's over here. I couldn't even imagine, number one, knowing how to do that. Number two, in a foreign land. So yeah, big believer in pet relocation companies. When you have an animal this size that is not going in the cabin in the little soft carry-on and sit in the seat next to you.
Yeah, big difference. Magic question, I know you guys are wondering. Can you tell us that whole journey, how much from the start to the end, how much was it to get your dog here?
So everything we've gone through so far is the good. Now the bad. Or you gotta expect it. So when you tell a company that you wanna hire them to move your cat, your parrot, your dog, to the other side of the world where you're going to live, what do they know about you and that animal? You are committed and they know you will pay anything.
You're basically held hostage.
Well, so the first quote I got from this company was $6,500. Wow. And just like any construction project, home remodeling project, every time there's a change order, miraculously the price goes up. And I'll never forget, when they changed airlines from Lufthansa, who canceled twice, and went to Air France, suddenly it was $1,000. And I'm like, wait, we're still, everything else is the same, but they know if they give you some, so again, understand it's an industry that knows the only reason their clients are coming to them because they are absolutely emotionally connected and committed and will do, will do anything for our animals. So at the end of the day, not including my friends transporting him, but just to the pet transportation company was $8,500.
Wow.
For him.
85. And then you said you gave your buddy $1,500 too, right?
I was all in for $12,000
Jesus
to get him here.
But let's be clear. So for most people, they're not going to have a dog your size.
No.
They're going to have their cat. They're going to have their smaller dog. Most of the time, people can get a dog on a plane, a smaller dog, you said.
Again, every airline is different, and I'm sure things change. The only other price I have is the couple that I met when I was visiting here that had brought a corgi from Dallas to Ho Chi Minh, and then I think it was flown up here because it was a much smaller dog. Yeah. And this was again right after COVID, 2022, about 3 years ago, and they were $3,500 or $3,800. So
even for a small dog like that. Wow. So it's not a buy an extra Southwest ticket and pay extra $100.
It may be on some, I've been on flights where people had the little toy something in the little soft carry case, and you're just, don't let that thing start barking.
Yeah, so this is definitely a case of size matters when it comes to
at the end of the day, it's shipping.
Yeah, it's shipping. It's live animal shipping. Okay, wow, that's crazy. So you did start a YouTube channel.
I did.
And I actually somewhat knew this guy without knowing him because I remember watching his video. If you guys watch Dan on Vagabond Awake, I remember sitting in Da Nang and his video popped up and I was like, oh wow, he's out here. Maybe I'll run into him. But you had a really, really good interview with Dan. I think it was almost 2 years ago.
Yep.
And you got like 2 million views on that.
Yes, and you and I did run into each other. I walked into my favorite coffee shop, cafe as they call them here, two weeks ago?
I think under that,
and there you were, and I recognized you because I had seen some of your current stuff.
And it's funny because my buddy Dale was there, and I'm bad at like recognizing people, but I looked over and I go, I think that's the guy from Vagabond Awake. And I remember I looked back over and you looked at me and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's him. And then we had a good conversation, and I guess it was fate to run into each other.
The story on meeting Dan was great. So before I retired, I was studying YouTube channels. I can name right off the top of my head quickly 8 or 9 American YouTubers that were over here, not all in Da Nang, not all in Vietnam. A couple of guys that were in Thailand, but they were doing information about an expat, an American relocating to Southeast Asia. So some of the general information translated whether you're going to end up in Bali or Thailand. So I was studying all these videos. A year after I'm here, I'd run into or met 6 or 7 of them. So Dan's I studied a lot because he had a great library already done up of relocation stuff, and some of the stuff that I learned on his channel 5 years ago I still espouse about what type of debit card to use, how to do that exploratory trip, all that type of stuff. So 2 years ago I was driving down one of the local streets in the expat area on my scooter with my girlfriend at the time on the back, and I was driving along and something caught my eye. If you don't know Dan's channel, go to Dan's channel, because his girlfriend is a 6'1", thin as a rail, Malaysian former runway model. Now, you don't see a 6'1", statuesque Malaysian runway model very often in Malaysia, let alone in Da Nang, Vietnam. So I turned my head, and that's what caught my attention. But then I looked at oh my God, that's Dan. I wheeled my scooter like a local right across all the traffic, pulled up on the sidewalk in front of him. He must have thought I was, some type of lunatic.
Security.
Yeah, literally. I'm like, Dan, Mark, oh, I love your stuff. You helped me so much. I'm here now. So we chit-chatted, and he said, hey, would you do an interview? And I'm like, I owe you. You've helped me. I would have made mistakes, but you told me what to do the right way before, just like a lot of stuff I've gotten off of your channel as well since then. Because people still ask me all the time, and I'm not up to date. I don't know what apartments rent for now. I know what the houses rented for 3 years ago.
Everything's moving parts over
Yeah,
there.
no,
It
so
always
everything
updates.
changes. And so he said, "Would you help me?" And I said, "Absolutely." We did the video, we did the interview. I saw it played back, and I'm like, "Oh my God, I look like a troll. I sound like a chipmunk." I was horrified. That's, for whatever reason. But then a year and a half later, for some reason, I went to his channel, and I clicked on videos, and I clicked on popular, and there was the interview. And last January, it was 1.7 million views. And I'm like, okay, I don't know if that's good or bad. For all I knew, every YouTuber got 1 million views after a year and a half.
That's a lot.
But my channel, I mean, I'm not polished when, there's no scripts. It's absolutely uncut raw, turn on the camera, what comes out, no editing, but it'll be some pretty exciting stuff. Can I, what do we call it? I'm new at this.
Yeah,
we
go ahead.
tease them. One of my first videos, I'm going to put myself in severe harm's way for the entertainment of my subscribers.
That always does good. I think
Yeah.
you guys, especially the trolls out there, love to see that.
And as far as I was concerned, if you do what you love, so gym, health, anything about animals. I've had snake collections. I had a 75-pound Siberian lynx for 5 years that lived in my house with me. Obviously, dogs for 40 years. So there'll be a lot of animal stuff, a lot of health, a lot of gym stuff.
I do know a lot of people. I even have my trusty notebook here. I wanted to ask a couple of quick lightning round questions about the pet stuff.
No, absolutely.
So we spoke on the pet relocation place. Do you have that place's name? Do you not want to promote them?
No, I would. I'm not sure I could find it, but I don't know. They're out of Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
Google pet relocation in America. I doubt there's more than one in any one city because they cover. I mean, I was the other side of the country and I still used them. It didn't matter. So Dallas, Texas, pet relocation.
I had a question. Someone asked me. I don't know. This is kind of a random question. Is there a pet passport? Have you ever heard of anything besides the vaccines and stuff like that?
Unless it's some way to just condense all the different paperwork and the certificates and the vaccine paperwork. And again, I had a stack. I had a file. I had a file that was thick, and I bought the special waterproof zipper bag. I'm like, oh my God, this is getting my dog into the country. So it was like practically hermetically sealed in titanium.
I think one of our subscribers was actually looking for like a blue passport with the dog's picture staring there.
It's not that easy.
James dog.
There's a lot of running around to different places to get different forms and shots and certificates, I think.
And then basically from the start, when you were back in the USA, to the time that he got here, that took how long?
Well, because of again, if weather permitting, it would have been 3 days.
Okay.
Because I planned it. They had that first Lufthansa. He was set to go. So I left on a Friday. Then I don't get here till a Sunday, a couple of days, and then he would have left the U.S. on when I got here, and it would have taken him a couple days with layovers to get here. So and the only thing that screwed it up was weather. So it would have been only 4 or 5 days.
But total, it ended up
5 weeks.
Wow. That's a long time.
Yes, it was.
So how many % of people do you run into, obviously they're probably attracted to your dog, that say, hey, I did the same thing, maybe not the pet relocation, but how many brought little Max or Fido, their little small dog? How many people do you run into that basically come out?
When I first got here, not many, because nobody was here. The country had just opened.
From COVID.
Now Yasta's older. His hips aren't what they used to be. We don't walk the beach. For 2 years, we would walk up and down the busy boardwalk beach every day. And either people screamed and climbed a coconut tree and grabbed their kids and grabbed their dogs and ran away, or they came over and were interested. But no, anybody else with a dog, it would come up in conversation. But mostly it was meeting people that had done the same thing. When you're sitting in one place, if you're in a coffee shop, and he's been in every coffee shop, every bar, every restaurant in the expat area over these last 3 years. But if you were in a position to spend some time and someone came, oh, let me ask you, then it was like, how do I do it? How did you do it?
That's probably the number one
And literally,
question.
because they were from different countries, I just say, use the professional pet relocation company.
Did you ever run into any problems with rentals with a pet? Because we do get that question a lot.
I've run into some resistance. That's where being a professional dog trainer and having a highly trained, well-behaved dog helps. So a little pushback from my first villa when I first got here. And I said to the real estate agent, I mean, let him know, and I can send him video. I'm a professional dog trainer. My dog is trained. If he'll rent me the villa, I can guarantee you my dog is better behaved than any child that lives in that community.
Yeah.
So, and then you show him the dog doing a few things like, oh my God, he'll actually stay and he'll come when you call him, and he'll go sit over there when you tell him to. Yeah. Oh, okay. And you just the wall breaks down like, okay, this guy's got everything under control.
So you explain the situation and talk to the landlord.
You do get something, and I moved once, and so in between, after the first year, between the first year and my second year, I was finding this place, and I asked to look at some houses, and the real estate agent said that they won't accept dogs, and I would always try, just let me look at the house, because if I like it, again, eventually if I talk to them and explain and they see it's not your typical, because especially if it's a Vietnamese owned, they're judging it on literally every Vietnamese dog, which is absolutely no training, no control, barking all the time.
So I know a lot of people have been looking forward to this. Can we see the dog? Can we see?
I think we can.
How old did you say? 11?
Yeah.
Look, he's been hiding over here. He's been listening, but he's been hiding.
Here, let's see. We'll get him to go get his bone. Yasta, Suk. Where's it? Suk.
Look at how trained.
Suk.
Let me show you guys how trained.
Suk. Yes. Brick. Here. Come on. The slippery for here.
Look at that.
Good boy.
There we go.
Okay. Los. Sits. No. Fui.
So guys, I hope that you guys enjoyed this interview. We met our new buddy Mark. His channel just launched. I'm gonna leave the link in the description down there. Go check out his channel. He's gonna have a lot of awesome new content coming up very, very soon. Please hit the like button. Please hit the subscribe button. We're getting close to 10,000 subscribers.
Awesome.
So we're very close. We're very close. So go check out both of our channels. Make sure you subscribe to both of our channels. And once again, happy travels.